after these events, they would not have talked to these witnesses, that even the Fulton County District Attorney is way ahead of them, is I think, cause for great concern.
Schiff, very concerned. Others speaking out, saying you got to put the heat on Trump. And remember, when we talk about timing, this isn't like wedding planning where some people want a year and others want 2, and you just kind of figure it out. We're talking about investigations to decide whether to charge or not. They have deadlines in law. They're called statutes of limitations. And depending on the charges, you could find out someone committed a crime and it's too late to charge them. Also, in fairness to everyone involved in the Trump White House, there are individuals who want to lead their lives. Some of them want to run for office. There should be a full and fair investigation, and then things should be closed out. For example, Mr. Meadows was facing criticism that he might need to be indicted over ducking the committee. In that case, the DOJ looked into it, and they declined to charge him while charging, as you may have heard, Navarro and Bannon. So there's a lot of pressure here to do this better and faster. We will say, in context, the DOJ has arrested over 800 people in connection with the riot or insurrection that day, but many were on misdemeanor charges. A selective few have faced that more serious and grave charge of seditious conspiracy. One more counterpoint, because we want to give you all the evidence. You'll make up your own mind. There are allies of the DOJ who say, does this look like they're just sitting around? Does this look like they're afraid of Washington insiders? Donald Trump's lawyer, John Eastman, getting the old pat down just like any other person in America and having his phone seized from him and being treated like someone who doesn't get to decide what to do with his phone or his body, being treated like someone who is, well, subject to a lawful search. And they show him the warrant there. They're handing him the warrant. Or take Jeffrey Clark, who was a high-ranking Trump DOJ official. But this is what it looked like, as you can see from body camera footage, when he was pulled out of his home for that search, again, subject to a lawful, independent, approved warrant. He asked at one point if he could put pants on, and the agent informed him, no, sir, you can't. They have a process for a safe sweep. They don't let people just go back in the house. And he was, of course, given his rights, given his treatment, but there are allies of the DOJ who say this is just what little we know about in public, and they are doing the work, executing the warrants. They're not afraid of anybody. So those are multiple perspectives on this, a story that is a big one in Washington right now and has consequences for America. We are going to have 2 seasoned guests weigh in on this and the law when we're back in 1 minute.
Me preocupo por la seguridad de mi familia en la carretera. Semáforo.
Bien.
Insisto en que escojamos a los Schwab Tires para servicios de seguridad como frenos, dirección y más. Cosas que esos centros de llantas baratos no ofrecen, porque quiero ser una copiloto confiada.
Ayuda a maximizar tu millaje con un control de seguridad gratuito. Visítanos pronto. Les Schwab Tires. Celebramos 70 años haciendo lo correcto. Se aplica únicamente a carros de pasajeros, SUVs y camionetas.
I want to help students excel in today's classroom. A STEM teaching degree can help me do that. WGU is the national leader of math and science teaching degrees and respected at school districts across the country. With my CAEP accredited teaching degree from WGU, I can help future generations succeed. An affordable, nonprofit university that offers STEM teaching degrees I can earn on my schedule? I choose WGU.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Welcome back to The Beat, and we are here in studio with Adam Kaufman, former chief of the investigative division of the Manhattan DA's office. Welcome to The Beat.
Thanks, Ari.
We just walked through perspectives on that. Where do you come down?
You know, I think this is something where you do want to see an aggressive approach by law enforcement. To me, if I were running this investigation, I'd want to broaden it away from just focusing on the events of January 6th and do what the committee has been doing, which is to look at the context, to look at a broader spectrum of possibly criminal behavior, but all of the conduct, and then start making some charging decisions about where to take the investigation.
I tried to fairly walk through the perspectives on this. You got the DOJ saying they're working hard, they got a lot of leads, and when they find criminal evidence, they don't care if it's from a DOJ vet or a Washington person. They're going after it. I showed that.
Right.
I also showed Schiff, Weissman, others saying the other side. Do you think there's something to the fact that they have been slower?
It's a little inconsistent, because on the one hand, you have these statements that DOJ was surprised by some of the testimony, that DOJ hasn't moved forward. They've only looked at the alternate elector issue. So you have some people saying they're going too slow. At the same time, you have these reports of some tension in that DOJ is asking for all of the transcripts and the committee saying, no, we want you to narrow your request. So I've seen both reports, so that's not entirely consistent to me.
So what do you see as the truth?
You know, you never know what's going on with an investigation, right? Criminal investigations, unlike political committees, are conducted in secret, and witnesses are interviewed, and witnesses may talk about who they've been contacted or not, but the DOJ isn't going to report on the status of its investigation.
Well, I'll push you slightly.
Sure.
You do know sometimes about certain search activities like we showed.
Right.
When people are indicted, you know that.
Right.
And you can tell from some of that ambient noise of what at least Mr. Weissman concluded, which was they're not going big and broad. They're being very targeted, which might miss the proverbial fascist forest from the riot trees, to use an old phrase.
Sure, that's a well-said phrase. But no, you're right. I think that we do want to see, to me, we want to see a broader investigation that is sort of following what the committee has been doing, which is to place all of these actions in a broader context and to gather the evidence that would show perhaps some type of broader conspiracy under, for example, 371, conspiracy to defraud the United States, a conspiracy to interfere with the function of a government department. And to me, that's where you want to look.
You're getting me. Now you're naming statutes by code. Now we're getting somewhere. Yeah. You're naming a statute that, again, goes at the broader thing of, did you make an overt act with corrupt intent to interfere with that stuff, right? That's big. It would seem that was Donald Trump's goal. It would seem that the entire fixation, obsession on the 6th was not because it was just kind of just a day to gather, a couple weeks out from the inauguration. It was targeting, interfering, and ultimately violently, physically interfering with the counting of the votes, along with the general administration of the election and the peaceful transfer of power. Who would be culpable for that? The president and his aides?
So that's a great question. To me, I would look beyond January 6th, beyond the riot. I would look to the president himself. You know, to me, the Raffensperger tape and the Raffensperger intervention, to me, that is as clear a case of criminality as we've seen by Mr. Trump himself.
So if you were drafting an indictment like that, you would have potentially items, proof, from other days.
Absolutely.
Right. Very interesting. I want to keep you here with us. As promised, we bring Maya Wiley back into the conversation. Maya, first, your response to what we just heard here.
Yeah. That's my response. I mean, the short answer here is quite clear. There is evidence. It puts Donald Trump right at the center. It is several different, I think Andrew Weissman is the one who talked about a hub and spoke approach to criminal investigation, meaning not just starting at the bottom and moving up a chain around the violence of January 6th, but really looking at everything from fake electors, intervening with state legislators, asking them to find votes, but also all of the organizing that led up to the events, including Donald Trump in his own campaign for president telling the Proud Boys to stand by, and then later denying he even knew who the Proud Boys were, and then we find out that they are actually clearly active in organizing and inciting the violence. Yeah. By the way, known to. I say this to say, really it is the point that if you look at it as a hub and a spoke, it's Donald Trump that is the hub, and all the spokes are all these different potential crimes.
Yeah, and I think you both make great points there, because during that insurrection impeachment, it's easy to forget. We always say, oh, don't we know this? We know that. That really focused in on the speech he gave and where they went. And it was not known then, for example, that he was told they were armed, along with all this other stuff. But you broaden out and you have the question of just this was Donald Trump spending weeks engaged in what some experts call a conspiracy and conspiring for weeks. A Trump-appointed prosecutor at DOJ who began, he's since left, I should note, but began this probe, had this to say.
It's unequivocal that Trump was the magnet that brought the people to D.C. on the 6th. Now the question is he criminally culpable for everything that happened during the siege, during the breach? But we have soccer moms from Ohio that were arrested saying, well, I did this because My president said I had to take back our house. That moves the needle towards that direction. Maybe the president is culpable for those actions.
That was March on culpability. And again, I don't think from what we know, the DOJ then, certainly not the public, had this detail of how many different methods there were, all towards what you said, a conspiracy to overtake the election.
Yeah, there's a lot of different, and to some extent the spoke and the hub work, although, you know, that's a charging theory. That's a legal theory that you would use. In terms of conducting the investigation, it doesn't really dictate how you conduct the investigation. I think January 6th has laid out that there are a lot of people with information. Whether what they were doing is criminal or not will remain to be seen. There are things that we find unpalatable that may or may not be criminal.
Sure.
Right? So we have to sort of keep that in mind and keep focused on the difference between conduct that we find objectionable and conduct that crosses the line and becomes criminal. In this case, there's a lot of people who were concerned about the election with genuine legal concerns, legal issues. There was a lot of litigation. And so you just have to be mindful of the fact that you have sort of what the president is doing, and there's a lot of other people doing things that may or may not be criminal in how the former president, utilized what they were doing.
But you think Weissman is mostly right or only half right or wrong?
I think Weissman is a very smart guy, and he's been a very formidable prosecutor.
Well, we all know
right.
he's smart.
Why
do lawyers do that? Why didn't you just say he's right?
I don't know. I don't know why lawyers
you sort of said, well, he's this. I thought you were going to dodge, but you basically publicly agree with him.
I do. I think the idea is good. Whether that legal theory holds up the same for this type of conduct as it would for a truly criminal organization, right?
No, it's harder to charge ex-government officials because they're not. It's not RICO the way you have for a gang,
like, right?
But it can be a theory to use. I'm out of time, but Maya, did you notice that? Why did Adam do that?
Why am I the sub?
Adam seemed like a nice guy to me.
I think you're both
You're really
great.
credible, Adam.
Thanks,
I will add just one quick thing here is I have seen the Department of Justice open investigations based on news headlines.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
We have more than headlines here.
Yeah, no, I think you both make very fair points. Maya's been around here longer than you, Adam, in terms of the beat, so she knows that when I kid, it's out of professional love and respect. It's true.
Thank you.
We've all been there, Adam.
Maya and Adam enlightening us here on